Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Caffeine for the Soul. And today I want to explore the implications of something that I first learned from my wife's grandmother. So my wife and I met when we were 21 in England, and one of her grandmothers was one of the early homeopaths in England. And I remember Nina telling me about her and telling me that her attitude towards health, so my attitude towards health stuff was, oh my God, what's wrong? This is terrible. Let's go to the doctor. Hers was, well, let's just, we'll see. And if it's still a problem in a while, then we'll check it out. And I didn't understand, and she didn't understand me, like how we could have such different attitudes. And she did finally explain to me that her grandmother, as a homeopath, had taught them a 2-week rule for health, which was, unless you're in a life-threatening situation or you're crippled, with whatever's going on with you, give your body 2 weeks to sort it out. And if it hasn't sorted itself out within 2 weeks, then you can seek intervention. Now, I am not a doctor. This is not a substitute for medical advice, but I did find this a really helpful guiding principle for myself. And in a minute, I'm going to also map it out beyond just the arena of health. That I started to see that if I didn't rush to treat my symptoms, if I didn't rush to fix whatever I thought must be broken when I could tell something was off in my body, inevitably, I kind of never even took it on as a 2-week rule. Usually within a few days, I would find my body had taken care of whatever was going on with it, and I was back to health. And it stuck with me, that idea. And when I started to learn about the 3 principles and the inside-out understanding that I talk about in these podcasts, I started to see that it was really helpful psychologically, not just physiologically. That if I was caught up in some drama in my head or feeling anxious or feeling depressed or feeling worried, instead of assuming I needed help with my mental health and I needed to go to a doctor, or I needed to take some kind of a tablet to help me, I could just leave it alone for a little while. And what I discovered was that it rarely took anything like 2 weeks for my psychological and emotional issues to resolve themselves. In fact, it usually took anywhere from 10 seconds to a couple of days before the world just started to look different and I felt different. And once I had experimented with it and experienced it for myself, I realized I kind of knew this as a kid. Because as a kid, I don't know if you ever did this, but my way of punishing my parents for making me eat stuff I didn't want to and do things I didn't want to was I'd go to bed without supper, and I was going to stay mad and I was going to starve myself until I died, and then they'd be sorry. Or sometimes I was just going to hold my breath till I died, and then they'd be sorry. Or occasionally what I would do is I was just going to stay mad at them for the rest of my life until they apologized because, I'd made their life so miserable. And it used to drive me nuts that I couldn't do it. Like, as a kid, I could not stay upset for more than about half an hour. And that was when I was motivated, because I wanted to prove something to my parents. Now, interestingly, as an adult, I've learned the ability. Adults, we can hang on to a bad feeling and hold a grudge for generations. But it's not natural, because as kids, you just can't. You can't stay upset. It's why it's so easy to distract a toddler. Like, they fall down and they start to cry and they go, oh, a pony! And they're like, where? And it's like it never happened. But as we grow older, we sort of learn to hang on to thoughts and feelings, and there becomes a sort of a sense of permanence to them. But it's not that they've become more permanent. It's that we've gotten more skilled at recreating them again and again and again and again and again. And it's not that you've had one depression or one anxiety for 10 years. It's that every freaking day, moment by moment, you've recreated that feeling. You've recreated that experience. But if you let it alone, if you take your hands off it, it is remarkable how quickly it changes. So again, not saying don't seek therapy, not saying don't take your medication, not saying you should do anything against medical advice. Just saying that if you're willing to give yourself a little bit more time, to give your physical system to take care of itself and reset and come back to health, and your psychological system to reset and come back to health, you'll be amazed at how often it does. Have fun, learn heaps, happy exploring, and I'll talk to you soon.